Your e-waste in a global context.
If you've just used our calculator to determine the CO2 footprint of the electrical devices you own, you probably noticed that the production and usage of electrical devices creates a lot of CO2. In addition to this, your devices create electrical waste, aka e-waste, as soon as you don't use them anymore. Yet, you are just 1 out of 8 billion people on this planet. What role does your e-waste play in the global e-waste stream? At the risk of oversimplifying a very complex issue, let's try to answer that question by starting with the place in which the global e-waste cycle starts, the extraction of raw materials needed for electronics. Resources needed for electrical devices are scarce and expensive. Like every other resource extraction, the extraction of raw materials for these devices is also harmful to the planet. Displacing a raw material from its natural place in the environment can cause soil degradation, shortage of water, loss of biodiversity, damage to ecosystem functions, and the aggravation of global warming. So we see, right from the start, the e-waste cycle is extremely harmful to people and planet. One very highly demanded raw material is lithium, which is used in batteries. Its demand will increase in the future as the demand for greener energy and therefore batteries to store the energy will increase. The extraction of lithium is especially harmful to the environment because it leads to air pollution and the pollution of the soil. This negatively affects communities living close to lithium mines as their access to water is threatened. After the raw materials have been extracted and combined to produce an electric device, the product is ideally used. The most obvious waste that occurs during the use time of a product is the direct waste of energy when devices are left on standby. An often overlooked source of waste is the use of energy by data centers that run the internet. Therefore, all electrical devices that have access to the internet externally create CO2 emissions through these data centers. Post-usage, when the product is irreparably broken, or when a newer, better, cooler version has been introduced to the market, the old device is discarded. Globally, the amount of e-waste accumulates to around 20 to 25 million tons annually. Most of it comes from rich countries in Europe, the United States, and Australasia. So, what happens to electrical devices once they've been thrown out? The European Union, 2 legal acts have been introduced that aim at regulating electrical and electronic equipment. The first one is, who would have guessed it, the Directive on Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment, otherwise known as the WEEE Directive. The WEEE Directive orders all member states of the European Union, which includes the Netherlands and thereby our beloved city Rotterdam, to create collection schemes through which consumers can return WEEE without having to pay. Sadly, the implementation of the directives has so far not been very successful. Almost all EU member states have fallen short in their obligations to separately collect enough waste electrical and electronic equipment, and therefore have failed to reach the EU goal of 65% collection. As a result, up to 4.8 million tons of WEEEs are annually not properly discarded. That means the e-waste instead lands in nature, residual waste streams, or illegal export, where they don't belong. Even though the export of e-waste to poor countries is illegal under the Basel Convention, rich countries still export e-waste to countries in Africa, Asia, and South America, where recycling techniques such as burning and dissolution in strong acids with few protective measures for human health and the environment have been put in place. On one hand, this leads to the contamination of the local environment, but eventually also water and food chains. The health of both workers in the e-waste management and inhabitants of the area are severely threatened by contamination in smoke, dust, drinking water, and food. Pollution through e-waste also has been found in some exported agricultural and manufactured goods. This just goes to show that it's an issue that affects all of us. In conclusion, your e-waste is part of a global system that is not functioning to the benefit of the majority of people on the planet, but rather harming them through pollution at every step of the cycle. From resource extraction, for example, the extraction of lithium, over usage, energy used through charging and for running the processors that enable the internet and our clouds, to trashing, illegal e-waste exports, improper handling of e-waste, hazardous working conditions for people extracting the rare materials from e-waste. A paper by Petridis and others in 2020 recognizes that solutions for curbing the increase of e-waste flows should also include governments creating incentives for producers to design and manufacture goods with a small CO2 footprint, as well as creating motives for people and businesses to gather discarded electric devices and returning them to producers and retailers. We aim to be part of creating incentives for people to gather their e-waste. Some of the reasons why people don't properly discard their e-waste are that they don't know how to do so and that they don't have the time or energy to take care of it. This is where we come in. Through our website, we begin to educate people on the troubles that e-waste creates. We then offer them an accessible way to be part of the solution by using a municipality-run e-waste pickup service initiated by us. Check out the part on pickup services on our websites to learn more.